Fandom.com wikis are the butt of many jokes, and for good reason. At their best, they're like the McDonald's of wikis, if McDonald's put cyanide in their burgers. In the same way that you're going to McDonald's for food that's good enough to get the job done but isn't anything special, you're going to Fandom.com for information that's good enough to get the job done but isn't anything special. And then the cyanide is the intrusive ads which take up way too much space. Like, if there's two wikis on the same subject, the difference in quality between the Fandom one and the non-Fandom one will be evident. Let's say you're a Guilty Gear fan and you want to look up the frame data of Chip's install where he does a line of coke. Are you going to go to A, Dustloop, which presents information about moves in a way that's easy to understand, has a distinct sense of humor, and is overall a beloved pillar of the communities it's a part of? Or B, Guilty Gear Wiki, which has the same cookie cutter template as every other Fandom wiki? I don't know, the choice is really hard. So for the most part, the issue isn't the content posted and so sure the people contributing to the wikis, it's a giant corporation controlling everything behind the scenes. Between JoJo Wiki, Zelda Wiki, and Fallout Wiki, more and more wiki communities are realizing that this Fandom.com thing isn't exactly working out and choosing to go independent. And I salute the brave individuals in charge of these anti-Fandom.com campaigns.
Wikis of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your god-awful interface.
But what if the problem was the content being posted? As it turns out, anyone being able to create a wiki doesn't necessarily translate to anyone being able to create a good wiki. If you look hard enough, you can find any number of wikis that are either poorly written or filled with people deliberately shitposting. Most of these poor quality wikis are small enough that you can ignore them though. However, having a large community of contributors doesn't exactly guarantee the highest of quality, and such is the case with Villains Wiki. Created on May 26, 2006, Villains Wiki is dedicated to articles about villains from all types of fictional media. At a quick glance, it would seem like a fairly ordinary wiki. It's not like it's a particularly out there concept, and the community is large enough that you can't just turn it into your own personal shitposting haven without any resistance. But when you see Villains Wiki brought up outside of Fandom.com, chances are that people are doing so in a joking and sure vaguely negative tone, though most people couldn't explain why that is. I personally believe that there's three fundamental factors that resulted in Villains Wiki's lack of quality. First of all, while morality is a subjective concept, wikis are more so structured in a way that's equipped for objective information, be it lore or gameplay data. So when even something as simple as whether or not a character could qualify for a page to begin with is up to debate, there's obviously going to be some difficulties when it comes to writing pages. Second, while most wikis are focused on one property, Villains Wiki features characters from countless franchises, meaning that there's no guarantee that the people writing and or moderating an article have any clue what they're talking about. And finally, the combination of edgy branding and characters from children's media is going to inevitably attract a bunch of stupid kids/teenagers who aren't exactly going to write the highest quality articles. I would know this because I was at one point a stupid kid/teenager who frequently looked at Villains Wiki's articles and thought they were the coolest shit. Thankfully though, I did not make the horrific mistake of creating a Fandom.com account and just stuck to lurking. So because of these three factors combined, as well as general Fandom.com issues, opening up a Villains Wiki article is like participating in a Russian roulette of page quality. The best pages are generally ones for popular characters who would no doubt attract a lot of willing editors. Said pages tend to have the layout of a typical Fandom Wiki character page: history, personality, powers and abilities, etc, etc. They're not exactly the greatest source of information in the world, and 9 times out of 10 you're better off using the wiki for the series the villain in question is from, but they get the job done well enough. However, the more you use Villains Wiki, the more things you'll find that seem off. For instance, it has more stubs than an ashtray. Some pages are missing major sections, some pages are only a couple paragraphs long, and some pages have trivia sections that are longer than the actual content. This goes hand in hand with another of the wiki's quirks, the fact that it has a lot of really weirdly specific pages. Ignoring stuff like original web content and real-life people, there's very little restrictions for what characters could have their own page, just as long as they're a named character and not a generic henchman. The end result is that there's a lot of articles like this. The unnamed Hummer driver is a minor antagonist in Family Guy, appearing as a minor antagonist in Hell Comes to Quahog. Biography. The Hummer driver appears in a cutaway gag after Brian Griffin says, "Look at all these Hummers, what kind of jerk would drive one of these?" After he says this, it cuts to the Hummer guy driving his Hummer in a freeway, looking at his screen to watch the movie Madagascar. As he watches the movie, the Hummer driver, due to being humored by the movie, proceeds to turn into a car, which proceeds to crash into an oil tanker and explodes, causing him to cry out, "Yeah, Rumsfeld!" Personality. The Hummer driver's attitude, for lack of a better term, is cocky. He displays so much confidence that he can merge without looking, without even thinking of the implications of the other drivers around crashing their cars. And after looking at enough Villains Wiki articles, you'll eventually find a page that's just a special kind of bad. This one on Uboa from Yumaniki has more sentences with grammatical errors or similar issues than ones without them. The Adachi page has a sentence implying real-life serial killers aren't malicious or sadistic, which is certainly a lot to unpack. There's a Villains Wiki page for the Eraserhead baby, and I apologize to any film buff watching this video who undeniably died from the sheer amount of psychic damage that statement would have caused. And finally, the page for Garen from Fire Emblem Fates says that he's definitely one of the deeper villains in Fire Emblem, which is obviously an incorrect statement, because it implies he's a villain when he's clearly a saint and also 100% morally correct. However, none of the issues I have discussed so far are the main reason that Villains Wiki has its reputation. That main reason is actually something that greets you as soon as you open up the majority of articles on the site, the info box section. Info boxes are something that most wikis have, and it's not hard to see why. They make it easier to find smaller things that wouldn't necessarily fit in a traditional paragraph format, be it in-universe information or more meta stuff like a character's first and or last appearance. But Villains Wiki instead makes it so that the primary focus of character info boxes is stuff that fits with the villain's theme, such as motivations, goals, or crimes. And it quickly becomes apparent that information like that is better suited for a format that allows for more elaboration. Because Villains Wiki has characters from basically any series, be it serious or comedic, you can crop out the part that says which character it is and get some interesting results. In fact, it's a meme to do just that. While researching for this video, I decided to ask around for cropped info box sections to see if I could find anything particularly funny. My favorite result from this exercise is this one from fellow YouTuber Zetetic that lists eating Honey Nut Cheerios as a goal of the villain in question. So naturally at first I thought this villain came from something shitposty, like one of those legitimate Nintendo cartridges that he talks about. What I didn't expect, however, was for this to be a character from The Wire. You know, that one crime show that's like near universally considered to be quite possibly the best written series on all of television. This is the beauty of Villains Wiki info boxes. If the name and series are cropped out, there is absolutely zero way of telling what kind of series the villain in question comes from if you're not familiar with them. And while this example is of a character coming off as shitpostier than they actually are, Villains Wiki info boxes can also go the other way around and make the most ridiculous characters possible seem like the very definition of pure evil. To show you what I mean, I decided to do a litmus test where I took one of the most pure evil characters off the top of my head, the Major from Hellsing, and counted how many crimes his page has listed, that being 15. Here is a list of characters with equal to or more than that. Peter Griffin, Chris McLean, Dr. Eggman, Mr. Krabs, Spamton G. Spamton, Heinz Doofenshmirtz, Xavier Renegade Angel, Mandy from Billy and Mandy, Dwight K. Schrute, Master Shake, Velma, Beavis and Butthead, George Costanza, Live Action Scrappy-Doo. Villains Wiki's info boxes are formatted in such a way that causes goofier characters to have a greater amount of crimes than more serious ones. Whether this is because of characters from a more episodic series inherently excelling in a format that prioritizes quantity over quality, or because of people intentionally shitposting to get their numbers as high as possible is up to you. Either way, Chris McLean is credited with hate crime, psychological abuse, and being the average Pokemon fan artist, and I think that's funny. I just want to make it clear that I don't support any harassment or vandalism aimed towards Villains Wiki and its users. At the end of the day, a slightly poor quality wiki isn't really hurting anyone. I'd even go as far to say that I'm genuinely glad that Villains Wiki exists, even if it's for something as simple as how unintentionally funny it could be at points. And hey, it could be worse. It could be a wiki that used the same unprofessional tone to talk about actual real-life people and ended up getting banned from its hosting service because of how much of an obviously bad idea it is. It sure is a good thing that a website like that doesn't exist, right?